Hi there, this is Jonathan Ginsberg. I'm an Atlanta area personal bankruptcy attorney. And today I'd like to talk to you about what it means when a judgment is filed against you and why is a judgment so dangerous. Well, basically a judgment means that somebody has filed a lawsuit against you and gotten a judge, a court, to issue an order saying that you owe a debt. A lot of times we see judgments that are default judgments. In other words, somebody sues you, a credit card company, it could be a vehicle lender on a deficiency balance, whatever the reason, they sue you, and if you don't respond to the lawsuit within 30 days or reopen the default, and you've got a few more days, 15 more days to open a default, what ends up happening is it's considered not contested. The creditor or the plaintiff goes to court and says, nobody responded to this lawsuit, we want a default judgment. The judge will, again, verify that nobody's there to contest it and then issue a default judgment. So just parenthetically, if you ever get sued, don't ignore it. It's very tempting to say, well, if I ignore it, nothing is going to happen, and nothing does happen for 8 or 9 months. But as a practical matter, it's never a good thing to do because judgments will then occur. Once a creditor has a judgment, what they can then do is go to the sheriff's office in the county where the judgment's obtained, and they can obtain something called a 5-Fe, which is a writ. And basically what that means is they now have a right to collect against any assets they can find against you. They would also file that judgment, that order, on the general execution docket in the county where you live, so that if you were to obtain real estate, for example, that lien would then attach to the real estate. And this would also be public notice to anybody, any other lender that might be contemplating loaning you money for a vehicle or furniture or anything like that, that there is an outstanding judgment against you. It would make it difficult for you to obtain credit. So when you have a judgment, basically it means that this creditor now has a claim or a lien against everything you own, every bit of personal property you own. It has a lien against any wages you're going to be earning, anything and everything you own. Now, as a practical matter, judgment creditors are not going to go after your nightstand or your bed, but they could go after your car. They most definitely can go after savings accounts and bank accounts, checking accounts, and they can clean those out by what's called a bank account levy. And what happens there is the lender will take that 5-Fe and go to the bank and serve the bank with a notice of garnishment, and the bank has to turn the money over, and you wake up one day and all the money in your checking account or your savings account is gone. It doesn't apply to certain types of money, for example, workers' comp money or Social Security money, but pretty much everything else it can apply to. The other thing they can do is they can contact your employer, and they can notify your employer that you're subject to a notice of continuing garnishment and ask the employer to withhold 25% of your disposable income and send it to them. And a lot of times people don't know this is happening. They get their pay stub, and lo and behold, 25% of their disposable money is gone. And yes, we can get it back in some circumstances using the bankruptcy process, but a lot more difficult to get it back. It doesn't happen very quickly, so you want to avoid that. And my experience is that many times employers will tell you that's happening, but sometimes they don't. So a judgment, bottom line, is a very dangerous thing. Not a good thing at all to have. Now, in bankruptcy, we can get rid of the judgment in many cases, most judgments, not every one of them, but most civil judgments like credit card debt or things like that, deficiency balances, civil lawsuits, we can file a motion to avoid the judgment lien and basically make that judgment unsecured. You can't do very much about certain types of statutory judgments, tax liens, things like that, but if it's a civil lawsuit lien, I can make it go away in bankruptcy. But as always, it's better to prevent this from happening than to try to play catch up and to address it after it's happened. So big picture thing to remember is, number one, try to avoid having a judgment land against you. If you are being sued or you hear that there's a lawsuit, contact an attorney, be proactive about that. If you hear that there's a court date coming up, again, be proactive. Don't wait until the judgment's already issued. If you get notice from your employer or the bank that somebody's trying to garnish your wages, again, pick up the phone, call an attorney. What can we do to try to deal with that before it happens? Getting money back is much, much more difficult. And one final word, because this does happen as well. Sometimes people say to me, well, I don't remember being served, or I didn't live in that house over in Cobb County. I've always lived in the Cobb County. It does happen where a creditor gets the wrong address. They serve somebody there, and then they get a default judgment. Well, we can do what's called a collateral attack and go after that incorrectly received judgment, again, if we know about it. And we can do it afterwards at any point in time, but again, once the money's been seized, once your paycheck or your bank account's been seized, a lot more difficult to deal with it. So much better to hear about if you hear something's going on, to take action, check your credit report periodically. Judgments will show up in credit reports, but a judgment is not a good thing at all, and it's something that we really want to try to avoid and catch it before all kind of nasty and bad stuff starts happening. So hope you found this helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube or a like on Facebook. If you have any questions about judgments or debts or anything related to personal bankruptcy, I'm happy to try to answer those questions for you. My name is Jonathan Ginsberg, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks a lot.